It is a simple circle of twisted reeds, held together by what look like dried rushes. It is brown with age, fragile, and only about 8 inches across. Despite its humble appearance, this object was once housed inside a fortress of pure gold. A masterpiece encrusted with so many jewels, it was said to glow like a captured piece of the sun. That golden fortress is gone now, smashed and thrown into a furnace, its value turned into coins that paid for war. But the simple circle of reeds survived. This is the story of the Crown of Thorns, a relic that has been fought over, bought for a fortune, stripped of its treasure, and carried out of a burning building. It is a journey that stretches across 1,000 years, from the courts of emperors to the chaos of revolution, and finally to the heart of a restored cathedral where it rests today. For centuries, the Crown of Thorns had been kept in the city of Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire, and a place famous for its collection of holy treasures. But by the year 1238, the emperor in Constantinople, a man named Baldwin II, found himself in a terrible situation. His empire was crumbling, and he was desperately short on money. So, he made a difficult choice. He took the Crown of Thorns, this priceless relic, and used it as collateral for a large loan from some wealthy Venetian merchants. Across Europe, in the Kingdom of France, there ruled a king who would one day be known as St. Louis. King Louis IX was deeply religious, and when he heard that the Crown of Thorns was being used as a pawn, he saw both a spiritual opportunity and a chance to bring glory to France. He decided he had to have it. Louis contacted the emperor and agreed to pay off his massive debt to the Venetians. The sum was enormous, something like 135,000 livres, which was a huge portion of France's entire budget for a year. It was an incredible amount of money, but for the king, no price was too high for such a holy object. When the crown finally arrived in France in the summer of 1239, the reception was unforgettable. King Louis, setting aside all his royal splendor, walked in the procession barefoot. He wore a simple tunic, showing his humility before the sacred relic he believed he was bringing home. On August 19th, he personally carried the Crown of Thorns into the city of Paris. Crowds lined the streets, and the air was filled with prayers and songs. The crown had found a new home, and France had a new, powerful symbol of its divine favor. But where do you put the most important relic in the kingdom? A simple wooden box would never do. King Louis decided to build a reliquary, a special container that was as magnificent as the relic was holy. And he didn't stop with just a box. He built an entire church. This was the famous Sainte-Chapelle, the Holy Chapel, and it was designed to be a giant, jewel-like reliquary itself. Its walls are made almost entirely of stunning stained glass, filling the interior with colored light that was meant to feel like heaven on earth. Inside this breathtaking chapel, the Crown of Thorns was placed in its own special container. This was the Great Golden Reliquary. Imagine a large, intricate shrine made of pure gold, studded with glittering gems and precious stones. It was a masterpiece of medieval craftsmanship, created by the best goldsmiths in the kingdom. For over 500 years, this is where the crown rested, safe inside its golden shell, visited by pilgrims and prayed over by kings. The golden reliquary was not just a container, it was a statement. It was a symbol of the wealth, the power, and the deep faith of the French monarchy. Centuries, the crown and its golden home remained at the Sainte-Chapelle. The building survived wars and the changing of dynasties, but nothing could prepare it for what was coming. In the late 1700s, France was torn apart by the French Revolution. It was a time when the common people rose up against the king and the nobles. The revolutionaries wanted to erase the old world and build a new one based on equality. Anything that reminded them of the monarchy or the powerful Catholic Church was a target. And there, in the heart of Paris, stood the Sainte-Chapelle. Filled with the treasures of the hated kings, the revolutionaries stormed the chapel. They did not see a holy shrine. They saw a mountain of gold that belonged to the people. The magnificent golden reliquary of the Crown of Thorns was seized, along with countless other chalices, crosses, and jewels. These treasures were not treated as art or as objects of faith. They were seen as raw materials. They were carted off to the National Mint, where they were thrown into furnaces and melted down. The gold was turned into ingots, solid bars of bullion, and then those bars were minted into coins? What was the money used for? It helped pay for the Revolutionary Wars, the armies that were spreading the ideas of the revolution across Europe by force. A masterpiece of faith was transformed into the currency of conflict. But what about the Crown of Thorns itself? The simple circlet of reeds had no gold value. Its worth was only in the faith of believers. When the revolutionaries saw it, they recognized it as something different. It was a historical object, a relic of immense significance. So, instead of melting it down, they saved it. It was moved first to the National Library, treated more like a museum piece than a holy object. Later, after the chaos of the Revolution settled down, it was given back to the church. In 1806, the Crown of Thorns was placed in a new home, the great Cathedral of Notre-Dame de Paris. There it stayed, protected in the cathedral's treasury for over 200 years, and there it might have remained safe and sound, if not for another tragic day. On April 15, 2019, the world watched in horror as a massive fire broke out at Notre Dame. The roof of the cathedral, a forest of ancient oak beams, caught fire, and the famous spire came crashing down through the burning inferno. Inside, the flames raged, and the heat was intense. Everyone feared that the centuries-old cathedral and all its treasures would be lost forever. In the middle of this chaos, a rescue mission was underway. Firefighters rushed to save what they could. Among them was Father Jean-Marc Fournier, the chaplain of the Paris Fire Brigade. He understood what was at stake. While others fought the flames, Father Fournier bravely entered the burning building. He knew exactly where to go. He went to the treasury and, risking his own life, retrieved the Crown of Thorns. It was saved from the fire by a human chain of heroes. The relic was carried out of the crumbling cathedral, safe, once again. After the fire, the Crown of Thorns was kept temporarily at the famous Louvre Museum, protected behind glass. For years, it remained there while the world helped rebuild Notre Dame. Then, in a ceremony filled with emotion, on December 13, 2024, the Crown of Thorns returned home. It was carried back into the newly restored cathedral and placed in a brand new reliquary. This new container is not made of gold that could be melted down. It is a modern design, a circle of clear crystal and bronze, allowing everyone to see the fragile relic inside. It is a symbol of survival and hope, returned to the heart of Paris. So what does this ancient relic actually look like today? As mentioned, it is a circle of bundled rushes, about the size of a large crown. Over the centuries, something interesting happened to the thorns. French kings, wanting to honor other royals and church leaders across Europe, gave them away as gifts. A single thorn from the Crown of Thorns became a treasure in its own right. One was given to Mary, Queen of Scots, and is now kept in England. Another is in a church in Rome. They were spread far and wide, like seeds of faith scattered across the continent. The thorns you see in churches today are usually single thorns, mounted in their own little golden cases. What remains in Paris, then, is the base of the crown, the simple woven band that held it all together. Today, that band is protected. It is wrapped with fine gold wire, not to decorate it, but to preserve it and hold its fragile shape. This bundle is then placed inside a long tube of glass and gold, so it can be seen but not touched. Visitors to Notre Dame can now see it, a small, unassuming object with a story more dramatic than any novel. The history of the Crown of Thorns is a mirror, reflecting the history of France itself. It arrived in a blaze of faith and royal glory. It rested for centuries in a golden shrine built by a saintly king. It was stripped of its golden housing by revolutionaries who saw only the value of metal for war, and it was saved from a modern inferno by a heroic priest. The gold is gone, melted down and spent long ago, but the crown remains. From Constantinople to Paris, from a golden casket to a crystal tube, from the Sainte-Chapelle to a burning cathedral, the Crown of Thorns has survived it all. It stands as a reminder that sometimes, the most powerful and lasting treasures are not made of gold at all, but of faith, history, and the enduring stories that connect us to the distant past.